he was not the firstborn son. The unavoidable resentment on the part of Enki and his maternal family was exacerbated by the fact that a new succession to the throne was problematic to begin with. Having lost out in a succession struggle to a rival named Alalu, he later usurped the throne in a coup d'etat, forcing Alalu to plead the for his life. That not only backtracked the author's image of the days of his forebears, but also brought about other challenges to the leadership of Enlil, as told in the epic tale of Anzu. The tangled relationships of the royal families, the ancestries of Anu and Antu, Enlil and Ea, see the lost book.
What up, Hermetic? How you doing?
Better yet, listen to my reading of it on YouTube. The key to unlocking the mystery of the god succession in marriage rules was my realization that these rules also applied to the people chosen by them to serve as their proxies to mankind. Well, yep, that's where the bloodlines come in. It was the biblical tale of the patriarch Abraham in Genesis 20:12. Isn't that interesting? Genesis 20:12. The book of Genesis, chapter 20, verse 12.
Oh,
that he did not lie when he had presented his wife.
The rumors are true. Homebrewed put out another video.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. Driving home, and the rain is cleared out, and it is epic. So, you know, there's the sun. That's still our sun, no simulator. Just an FYI.
Hey, what's up, bro?
We got a yellow hue down here on this side. You can see it over there too. We've got energy flow in the clouds.
Goddamn, John. These guys look
names out for them, but that's energy flow, like I've explained in many other videos.
Mine are just overcast.
We got different color skies. We've got wave clouds.
Holy, you just got the whole kaleidoscope of stuff.
And we've got electric haze. So I just want to record an abnormal sky.
Yeah, that's normal.
I'm seeing in Virginia.
That's normal. All of it.
From the side of the road.
If you got a 3-sun system going on.
I was so excited I had to stop.
It's fucking normal. That's what happens when 3 suns come together.
Enjoy this video.
You get all kinds of scalar waves up in the sky. Talk about looking like your ripples in the river.
Thursday for me, it means it's the weekend.
Uh-oh. Oh,
should
shit.
be putting out my,
I see what's going on.
Videos will increase.
This is John's weekend.
Talk to y'all later.
Shit. Oh, my God. Happy weekend to you, John. Hi, everybody. Hi, Thomas. Hi there, Sheila. Hot still, huh? Yeah, it's still chilly here. Hi, Kim. Here we go back with
Sarah as his sister. Indeed, she is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife.
Playlist going through the.
Not only was marrying a half sister from a different mother permitted, but a son by her, in this case Isaac, became the first legal heir. And
Josh. So that's where we are. Yesterday I started through half the way through, and then I realized the playlist's kind of fucked up. So I was like, what the hell is that shit? So we're starting from the beginning today. Almost the beginning. It does preface. So this is what we was making last night till late. And that's a big old freaking honeycomb on there. A bunch of little magnifiers, glow-in-the-dark mushrooms. Pretty water pipe there. That was fun. It took a while. Today we're going to be making cheap pipes again. I sold some of those yesterday when I went to go get myself some of this. Because Wednesday, see, it's like 20% off. So I got 2 grams for $20 with some really nice wax. This here is my mint berry. I think that might be my favorite purchase from yesterday. I made money when I went to go get weed. That's the thing I love about my job. See, now that's like, what do they call this? Some kind of strawberry. It just doesn't seem like strawberry to me. That other one's definitely mint berry, though. Motherfucking delicious stuff. Yeah, I was happy with the way it came out. That's a freaking crazy thick honeycomb on the end of that thing. I like the color scheme, the purple with the lime green, and yeah, I'm happy with the way it came out with the overtones and the different colors in the reversals and stuff. I really like the way that whole scheme came out too. Each one of those lines is 2 lines. You can see that under the magnifier, but you can't see it there. That's why I do those magnifiers, so you can actually see the detail that I put into it. it's too much detail for the naked eye sometimes. That's what makes this shit fun. Just doing what I want, you know. I mean, that's freehand. Bam, ain't no machine shit. Anyway, I'm gonna start some Josh up. I'm gonna go get
Dynastic successor rather than the
on
firstborn Ishmael, the son of a handmaiden of the handmaiden Hagar. How such succession rules caused the bitter feud between Ra's divine descendants in Egypt, the half-brothers Osiris and Seth, who married the half-sisters Isis and Nephthys, is explained in the Wars of Gods and Men. Though those succession rules appear complex, they were based on those who write about royal dynasties They were based on what those who write about royal dynasties call bloodlines. What we now should recognize as sophisticated DNA genealogies that also distinguish between general DNA inherited from the parents as well as the mitochondrial DNA that is inherited by females only from the mother. The complex yet basic rule was this. Dynastic lines continue through the middle.
Yeah, it is still chilly here.
The firstborn son is the next in succession. A half-sister could be taken as a wife if she had a different mother, and if a son by such a half-sister is later born, that son, though not firstborn, becomes the legal heir of the dynastic successor. The rivalry between the 2 half-brothers, Ea and Enki and Enlil, in matters of the throne was complicated by personal rivalry in matters of the heart. They both coveted their half-sister Ninmah, whose mother was yet another concubine of Anu. She was Ea's true love, but he was not permitted to marry her. Enlil then took over and had a son by her, Ninurta. Though born without wedlock, the succession rules made Ninurta Enlil's uncontested heir, being both his firstborn son and one born by a royal half-sister. Ea, as related in the Earth Chronicles book, was the leader of the first group of 50 Anunnaki to come to Earth to obtain the gold needed to protect Nibiru's dwindling atmosphere. When the initial plans failed, his half-brother Enlil was sent to Earth with more Anunnaki for an expanded mission. If that was not enough to create a hostile atmosphere, Ninmah too arrived on Earth to serve as chief medical officer. A long text known as the Atrasis Epic begins the story of gods and men on Earth with a visit by Anu to Earth to settle once and for all, he hoped, the rivalry between his 2 sons, and that was ruining the vital mission. He even offered to stay on Earth and let one of the half-brothers assume the regency on Nibiru. With that in mind, the ancient texts tell us lots were drawn to determine who would stay on Earth and who would sit on Nibiru's throne. The result of drawing lots then was that Anu returned to Nibiru as its king, Ea, given dominion over the seas and waters. In later times, Ea was known as Poseidon to the Greeks and Neptune to the Romans. He was granted the epitaph Enki, the Lord of the earth, to soothe his feelings, but it was Enlil, Lord of the command, who was put in overall charge. To him the earth was made subject. Resentful or not, Ea and Enki could not defy the rules of succession or the results of the drawing of lots. And so the resentment,
It's
the anger at
basically
justice denied, and the
space
consumed
shuttle
determination to avenge
shielding
injustices to his father and
for the
forefathers,
windows.
and thus to himself, led Enki's son Marduk to
it's
take up the
sparkling.
fight. Several
What makes
texts
the
describe how the
dragonfly
Anunnaki
wings
set up
out
their
of it?
settlements in the Eden, the
At
post-diluvial
least I hope
Samir,
to.
each with a specific function and all laid out in accordance with a master plan. The crucial space connection, the ability to constantly stay in communication with the home planet and with the shuttlecraft and spacecraft, was maintained from Enlil's command post in Nippur, the heart of which was a dimly lit chamber called the Duranki, the bond of heaven and earth. Yeah, the bond of it, that's a Stargate. Another vital facility was a spaceport located at Sipar, the bird city. Yeah, where they land their fucking Klingon bird of prey at. Nippur lay at the center of concentric circles with each other, where the cities of the gods were located. Altogether, they shaped out for an arriving spacecraft a landing corridor whose focal point was the Near East's most visible topographic feature, the twin peaks of Mount Ararat. And then the deluge swept over the earth, obliterated all the cities of the gods with their mission control center and spaceport, and buried the Eden under millions of tons of mud and silt. Everything had to be done all over again, but much could no longer be the same. First and foremost, it was necessary to create a new spaceport facility with a new mission control center and new beacon sites for a landing corridor. The new landing path was anchored again on the prominent twin peaks of Ararat. The other components were all new, the actual spaceport and the Sinai Peninsula on the 30th parallel north, artificial twin beacon peaks as beacon sites, the Giza pyramids, and a new mission control center at a place called Jerusalem. It was a layout that played a crucial role in post-diluvial events. The deluge was a watershed in the affairs of both gods and men, and in the relationship between the two. The earthlings who were fashioned to serve and work for the gods were henceforth treated as junior partners on a devastated planet. The new relationship between men and gods was formulated, sanctified, and codified when mankind was granted its first high civilization in Mesopotamia, circa 3800 BCE. The momentous event followed a state visit to Earth by Anu, not just as the Biru's ruler, but also as the head of the pantheon on Earth, of the ancient gods. Another, and probably the main reason for his visit, was the establishment and affirmation of peace among the gods themselves, a live and let live arrangement dividing the lands of the old world among the two principal Anunnaki clans, that of Enlil and that of Enki, for the new post-diluvial circumstances. The new location of the space facilities required a new territorial division among the gods. It was a division that was reflected in the biblical table of nations, Genesis chapter 10, in which the spread of mankind emanating from the three sons of Noah was recorded by nationality and geography. Asia to the nations, lands of Shem; Europe to the descendants of Japheth; Africa to the nations, lands of Ham. The historical records show that the parallel division among the gods allotted the first two to be Enlilites, the third one to Enki and his son. The connecting Sinai Peninsula, where the vital post-diluvial spaceport was located, was set aside as a neutral sacred region. And that's the reason why those are considered the holy lands and stuff, folks. That's where the fucking aliens landed. Come on. While the Bible simply listed the lands and nations according to their Noahide divisions, the earlier Sumerian text recorded the fact that the division was a deliberate act. The result of deliberations by the leadership of the Anunnaki, a text known as the Epic of Etana, tells us that the great Anunnaki who decreed the fate sat exchanging their counsels regarding the earth. They created the four regions and set up the settlements. In the first region, the land between the two rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris, Mesopotamia, man's first known high civilization, that of Sumer, was established. Where the pre-diluvial cities of the gods had been, cities of man arose, each with its sacred precinct where a deity resided in his or her ziggurat. In Lil, in Nippur, Ninmah, in Shipparak, Ninurta, in Lagash, Menarsin, in Ur, so on and so on, in each such urban center, and Enki, a righteous shepherd, initially a chosen demigod, was selected to govern the people in behalf of the gods. His main assignment was to promulgate codes of justice and morality in the sacred precinct. A priesthood, overseen by a high priest, served the god, and his spouse supervised the holiday celebrations and handled the rites of offerings, sacrifices, and prayers to the gods. Art and sculpture, music and dance, poetry and hymns, and above all, writing and record keeping flourished in the temples and extended to the royal place. The royal palace, rather. From time to time, one of those cities was selected to serve as the land's capital. There, the ruler was King Lugal, the great man. Initially, and for a long time thereafter, this person, the most powerful man in the land, served as both king and high priest. He was carefully chosen for his role and authority, and all physical symbols of kingship were deemed to have come to earth directly from heaven, on a Nibiru. A Sumerian text dealing with the subject stated that before the symbols of kingship, the tiara, the crown, and the scepter, and of righteousness, the shepherd's staff, were granted to an earthly king, they lay deposited before Anu in heaven. Indeed, the Sumerian word for kingship was Anuship. The aspect of kingship as the essence of civilization, just behavior, and a moral code for mankind, was explicitly expressed in the statement in the Sumerian king list that after the deluge, kingship was brought down from heaven. It was a profound statement that must be borne in mind as we progress in this book to the messianic expectations in the words of the New Testament, the return of the kingship of heaven to earth. And we are going to stop right there on that part of the book that is. All right, we will pick up on that next time on the broadcast. Good stuff there in our new series of reading, and we will be getting into more of that next time on the show. Not going to be a live show tomorrow night because I'm going to be on with Lee Rogers for 3 hours, 9 to midnight Central Standard Time, oraclebroadcasting.com, 3-hour throwdown. Rogers Reeves, I hope you'll join us. I also hope you'll donate to my website, thegoldreality.com. Support what we do. Keep us commercial free, uncensored, and pushing forward, and help me to continue to get out some real information to combat what these fucking ass clowns and the phonies and the Patriot Movement, Truth Movement are doing, man. I can't do it without you. And I'm just a one-man operation, so any help we get is greatly appreciated, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and being here with us tonight. TheGoldenReality.com. Get yourself a copy of Secret Right Volume 2 on Blu-ray or DVD as well. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and you guys have yourselves a great one. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. I was walking down the street in the town I was born. I was really thinking that I never felt before. So I opened my eyes and I said, sorry, reading across the sky. Yeah, we starts now. Yeah, the revolution starts now. The revolution starts now. You are the man. The revolution starts now. Circa 3100 BCE, a similar yet not identical civilization was established in the second region in Africa, that of the river Nile, Nubia, and Egypt. Its history was not as harmonious as that of the Israelites, for rivalry and contention continued among Enki's 6 sons, to whom not cities but whole land domains were allocated. Paramount was an ongoing conflict between Enki's firstborn, Marduk, also known as Ra in Egypt, and Inadungeon, Thoth in Egypt, a conflict that led to the exile of both Thoth and a band of African followers to the New World, where he became known as Quetzalcoatl, the winged serpent. And that's where my research has taken me on the rock wall thing. But that's what it appears that's what it appears this time period in which the rock wall was created was that time period in which Thoth and his band of African followers came to the New World. And when he became known as Quetzalcoatl, the winged serpent. Marduk Ra himself was punished and exiled when opposing the marriage of his young brother Dumuzi to Enlil's granddaughter, Inanna and Ishtar. He caused his brother's death. It was as compensation to Inanna Ishtar that she was granted dominion over the third region of civilization, that of the Indus Valley, circa 2900 BCE. It was for good reason that the 3 civilizations, as was the spaceport in the sacred region, were all centered on the 30th parallel north. According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki established kingship, civilization, and its institutions, as most clearly exemplified in Mesopotamia, as a new order in their relationships with mankind, with kings, priests, serving both as a link and a separator between gods and men.
Oh, there's a pretty side.
But as one looks back on that seemingly golden age in the affairs of gods and men, it becomes evident that the affairs of gods constantly dominated and determined the affairs of men and the fate of mankind. Overshadowing all was the determination of Marduk or Ra into injustice done to his father Ea, Enki. When under the succession rules of the Anunnaki, not Enki but Enlil was declared the legal heir of their father Ani, the ruler on their home planet Nibiru. In according with the sexagesimal mathematical system that the gods granted the Sumerians, the 12 great gods of the Sumerian pantheon were given numerical rank, in which Anu held the supreme rank of 60. The rank of 50 was granted to Enlil, that of Enki was 40, and so farther down, alternating between male and female deities. Under the succession rules, Enlil's son Nerta was in line for the rank of 50 on Earth. When Marduk held a nominal rank of 10, and initially these 2 successors in waiting were not yet part of the 12 Olympians. And so the long, bitter, and relentless struggle by Marduk that began with Enlil in Enki feud focused later on Marduk's contention with Enlil's son Ninurta for the succession to the rank of 50, and extended to Enlil's granddaughter, who was Inanna and also known as Ishtar, whose marriage to Dumuzi, Enki's youngest son, was so opposed by Marduk that it ended with Dumuzi's death. In time, Marduk faced conflicts even with other brothers and half-brothers of his, in addition to the conflict with Thoth that we've already mentioned, principally with Enki's son Nergal, who married a granddaughter of Enlil named Ereshkigal. In the course of these struggles, the conflicts at times flared up to full-fledged wars between the 2 divine clans. Some of these wars are called the Pyramid Wars in my book, The Wars of Gods and Men. In one notable instance, the fighting led to the burying alive of Marduk inside the Great Pyramid. In another, it led to its capture by Ninurta. Marduk was also exiled more than once, both as a punishment and a self-imposed absence. His persistent efforts to attain the status to which he believed he was entitled included the event recorded in the Bible as the Tower of Babel incident. But in the end, after numerous frustrations, success came only when heaven and earth were aligned with the messianic clock. Indeed, the first cataclysmic set of events of the 21st century BCE and the messianic expectations that accompanied it is principally the story of Marduk, that also brought to center stage his son Nabu, a deity, the son of a god, but whose mother was an earthling. Throughout the history of Sumer that spanned almost 2,000 years, its royal capital shifted from the first one, Kish, Ninurta's first city, to Uruk, the city that Anu granted to Inanna and Ishtar, to Ur, Sin's seat of sinner and worship, then to others, and then back to the initial ones. Finally, for the third time, back to Ur. But at all times in little city Nippur, his cult center, as scholars won't call it, remained the religious center of Sumer and Sumerian people. It was there that the annual cycle of worshiping the gods was determined. The 12 Olympians of the Sumerian pantheon, each with his or her celestial counterpart among the 12 members of the solar system, the sun, the moon, and 10 planets, including Nibiru, were also honored with 1 month each in the annual cycle of the 12-month year. The Sumerian term for month, Izan, actually means holiday, festival, and each such month was devoted to celebrating the worship festival of one of the 12 supreme gods. It was the need to determine the exact time when each such month began and ended, not in order to enable peasants to know when to sow or harvest, as schoolbooks explain, that led to the introduction of mankind's first calendar in 3760 BCE. It is known as the calendar of Nippur, because it was the task of its priests to determine the calendar intricate timetables to announce for the whole land the time of the religious festivals. The calendar is still in use to this day as the Jewish religious calendar, which in AD 2007 numbers the year. In pre-diluvial times, Nippur served as mission control center. In Lil's command post, where he set up the Duran key, the bond of heaven and earth for communications with the home planet, Nibiru, and with the spacecraft connecting them, after the deluge, these functions were relocated to a place later known as Jerusalem. Its center position, equidistant from the other functional centers in the Eden, were also deemed to be equidistant from the 4 corners of the earth, and gave it the nickname Navel of the Earth. A hymn to Enlil referred to Nippur and its functions thus as this: Enlil, when you marked off divine settlements on earth, Nippur you set up as your very own city. You founded the Duran key in the center of the 4 corners of the earth. The term the 4 corners of the earth is also found in the Bible. And when Jerusalem replaced Nippur as mission control center after the deluge, it too was nicknamed the Navel of the Earth. In Sumerian, the term for the 4 regions of the earth was Ub, but it was also found as Anu, the heavenly, the celestial 4 corners. In this case, an astronomical term connected with the calendar. It is taken to refer to the 4 points in the Earth-Sun cycle and the annual cycle that we nowadays call the summer solstice, the winter solstice, and the 2 crossings of the equator, one as the spring equinox and then as the autumnal equinox. In the calendar of Nippur, the year began on the day of the spring equinox, and it has so remained in the ensuing calendars of the ancient Near East. That determined the time of the most important festival of the year, the New Year Festival, an event that lasted 10 days during which detailed and canonized rituals had to be followed. Determining calendrical time by heliacal rising entitled the observation of the skies at dawn, when the sun just begins to rise on the eastern horizon, but the skies are still dark enough to show the stars in the background. The day of the equinox having been determined by the fact that on it, daylight and nighttime were precisely equal. The position of the sun at the heliacal rising was then marked by the erection of a stone pillar to guide future observations, a procedure that was followed, for example, later on at Stonehenge in Britain. And as at Stonehenge, long-term observations revealed that the group of stars or constellations in the background has not remained the same there. The alignment stone called the background statement thing. There, the alignment stone called the heel stone that points to a sunrise on solstice nowadays, pointed originally to a sunrise circa 2000 BCE. The phenomenon called the precession of the equinoxes, or just precession, results from the fact that as the Earth completes one annual orbit around the Sun, it does not return to the same exact celestial spot. There is a slight, very slight retardation. It amounts to 1 degree out of 360 in the circle in 72 years. It was Enki who first grouped the stars of zodiacal from Earth into constellations and divided the heavens, in which the Earth circled the Sun, into 12 parts. It has since been called the zodiacal circle of constellations, since each 12th part of the circle occupied 30 degrees of the celestial arc. The retardation or precessional shift from one zodiacal house to another lasted mathematically 2,160 years, 72 times 30. And a complete zodiacal cycle lasted 25,920 years, 2,160 times 12. The approximate dates of the zodiacal ages following the equal 12-part division and not actual astronomical observations have been added here for the reader's guidance. Guana, the heavenly bull, Taurus; Mushtaba, the twins, or Gemini; Dub, the pincers, the tongues, is the crab of Cancer; Urgula, the lion, which we call Leo; Absin, her father was Sin, the maiden, Virgo; Ziba'ana, the heavenly face, the scales of Libra; Sertab, which claws and cuts, the Scorpio; Pabil, the defender, the archer, Sagittarius; Shirmash, the goatfish, Capricorn; Gu, the lord of the waters, the water bear, Aquarius; Sima, fishes, Pisces; Kumal, the field dweller, the ram, Aries. That this was the achievement from a time preceding mankind's civilizations is attested by the fact that the zodiacal calendar was applied to Enki's first stage on Earth, when the first two zodiacal houses were named in his honor. That this was not the achievement of a Greek astronomer in the 3rd century BCE, as most textbooks will suggest, is attested by the fact that the 12 zodiacal houses were known to the Sumerians millennia earlier by names and depictions that we use to this day. In When Time Began, these cylindrical timetables of gods and men were discussed at length. Having come from the Biru, whose orbital period, the Sard or the Shar, meant 3,600 Earth years. That unit was naturally the first cylindrical yardstick of the Anunnaki, even on the fast orbiting Earth. Indeed, the texts dealing with their early days on Earth, such as the Sumerian king lists, designated the periods of this or that leader's time on Earth in terms of shars. I termed this divine time. The calendar granted in mankind, one based on the orbital aspects of the Earth and its moon, was named earthly time, pointing out that the 2,160-year zodiacal shift, less than a year for the Anunnaki, offered them a better ratio, the golden ratio of 10 to 6 between the two extremes. I called this celestial time. As Marduk discovered that celestial time was the clock by which his destiny was to be determined, but which was mankind's messianic clock, determining its fate and destiny. Earthly time, such as the count of 50-year jubilees, accounting centuries, or the millennium. Was it divine time geared to Mercurius orbit, or is it celestial time that follows slow rotation of the zodiacal clock? The quandary, as we shall see, baffled mankind in antiquity. It still lies at the core of the current return issue. The question that is posed has been asked before by Babylonian and Assyrian stargazing priests, by biblical prophets through the book of Daniel, in Revelation of St. John, divine, to Elisha to Isaac Newton, by all of us today. The answer will be astounding, but let us embark on the painstaking quest. And that's the end of chapter 1. We'll turn there. And we get into chapter 2 here now. And it came to pass, the end of days by Zechariah Sitchin. It is highly significant that in its record of Sumer and the early Sumerian civilization, the Bible chose to highlight the space connection incident, the one known as the tale of the Tower of Babel. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shanir, and they settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them by the fire."